So this week and last week we covered CRUD, so how to create, read, and update, destroy. Like we created an app that does CRUD for a single resource. Resource meaning like I can create a dog, I can update a dog, create, read, update, destroy a dog. Then we talked a little bit about nested CRUD. Nested CRUD being if I want to create a site that has cars and manufacturers together. So it's like I'd like to visit /Toyota, and I could see all the cars that Toyota makes. And then it would be like /cars /Toyotas / Prius. You can nest one thing underneath another. We're going to be talking about this concept of microservices today. Now, when I say microservices, have people heard of that concept before? No, not really.
I've heard of microbusinesses.
Microbusiness? What's a microbusiness? Let's see if we can tie that in.
I think it's just a fancy word for a really small side business that a person has.
Sure.
Micro-lending.
Micro-lending is another thing. We're going to go back to microservices. So essentially what happened was when the web first became like a really big thing, it's always been more or less a really big thing, but it's kind of fun. Sorry for remote. There was a person carrying the giant camera and following a person around walking out of an elevator. So when the web first became a really big thing, everyone was creating giant monolithic applications. So think back to 2007, 2008 when the web and mobile really started to become really huge. They decided to start creating startups. That's when the startup game really started. And Groupon was one of the first ones. Now Groupon is the fastest company to go from inception to IPO. I think it was in under 3 years or something. They went from inception to IPO. With that, there were a lot of other companies that started developing their companies in a similar way. They wanted to get off the ground very quickly. So they developed one giant monolithic application. And when I say monolithic, I mean millions upon millions of lines of code. Now the issue with that becomes when you have one central point of failure, one central repository that has everything inside of it, you change one thing, it could blow up the rest of the website. So people that started hitting, becoming an issue around 3 or 4 years later, when they started realizing, oh, when one person changes one tiny line of code on this particular file, the entire app shuts down. Or we're losing money because somebody added one seemingly harmless change into the code base, and then everything blows up. And then you have to be able to find that one particular thing that's screwing up your entire website. So they decided to move everything over into microservices. Microservices being very, very small services, microservices. With microservices, what they'll do is instead of having one app with 1 million lines of code, they'll have 4 apps with 250,000 lines of code apiece, or they'll have 5 apps of 200,000 lines of code apiece. And the idea is I want to break it down as much as humanly possible. Think of a large company. We're going to use Amazon as the example for today. So Amazon's a huge company. Imagine if they had one application. They have so many different businesses now. They have Audible, right? They have Amazon Prime TV. They have the whole Echo and Alexa line of products. Now imagine if all of that code was living in one giant application. Good luck trying to get around. So the idea is I'm going to split off this one giant thing into smaller pieces. And from even those smaller pieces, Alexa has Echo and Echo Dot, and then Echo Tap and all these things. You can probably split those off into even further separated. And the idea is I want to have as many small little applications that do one thing. And this all comes down to that single responsibility principle. As we write our code, we want all of our controllers and all of our actions to do one specific thing. So think about the time that you place an order on Amazon. You press the button place order, and what are some of the things that you think happens right away? I'll get you started. 1, it creates an order. So Amazon's a giant CRUD app. C creates the order, but what else does it do from the time that you hit place the order to the time it shows up on your doorstep?
Order, I assume, goes into some database, and there's a certain order by which they have to be filled. And
how does your order get filled? Give you a guess. I don't really know.
I assume that it's sent to a specific facility, and then some machine or guy reads it, and some underpaid guy goes and runs and gets your package and your stuff, and packages it, sends it on.
Sure. So there's a lot that you just said right there, right? Like I press the button, an order gets created inside the database, a notification gets fired off to somewhere, some central, like probably processing computer, which will determine which particular place, which particular location actually has the item. If you don't have the item, what happens, right? Because you said it'd be there in 2 days, but if everyone sold out of, like cheese puffs or something like that, and there's no more cheese puffs, what happens, right? There's a whole bunch of other stuff that hits down the line. It's much more complex than just one action. So those are generically what we call as business rules of our application. In that what we do is we still do the basic CRUD, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff that also happens. So some things that we might do alongside saving a record to our database, like one is logging changes in an audit trail. Like Amazon's going to get audited. They have to keep track of all their finances and keep everything in check. We have to send an email right away. That's something else that you have to do, that you're going to get an automatic confirmation email. Hey, you ordered this. It'll be here on this particular day. You have to charge the credit cards. So we have to call out to like either PayPal or to Stripe, or Amazon probably has their own payment processing, or maybe they'll use a vendor, who knows? But they have to process that payment. You have to calculate coupons. You have to check whether or not this is a fraudulent activity or regular activity. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Like that's just a small little subset. So not everything is as nice as just create, read, update, and destroy. It's mostly that, but there's a bunch of stuff that happens underneath the hood. So I said that Rails was an MVC framework. What does M stand for, V stand for, and C stand for? Model. I think it's a little bigger. Model, view, and controller. So Rails is an MVC framework, and for many modern web frameworks, they're MVC frameworks. Model. What is a model?
Like a schema, basically how things are placed in the database.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a Rails. That's not a convention. Talks to the database.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you have a cars table in the database, you have a car model. That's the thing that connects your particular application to the database. View is pretty simple. What shows up on the screen. And controllers is the last little bit of it. What is a controller?
It's a code that actually functions, things that does things for you.
Brain, right? You can think of it as like the brain of the entire application. Like it does all, like I hit a route, the controller tells it what view to bring up. If I need to update the database, the controller says like, hey model, come over here and then do this particular thing. Controller is more or less the brain to everything. So where do you think our business rules should live? So all that extra stuff, like from the time you press the place order button to the time you get, there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens, right? We said at least credit card payment processing, at least an automated email, at least saving their audit trails somewhere. Which one of these three places should it live inside?
Controller.
Yeah, it makes sense. The most sense to put inside the controller. The view it's just what shows up on the screen. Why would it be in charge of anything else? The model is the thing that talks to the database, because one model goes to one table inside the database. So we're left over with these controllers over here. So yeah, that makes most sense. Probably business logic goes here. The problem with this particular approach is that when you put everything inside the controller, your controllers are becoming very, very large. So if you go to a place that has like super old code, like Groupon or basically any company that has fairly large and old code bases, you'll see controllers. Like right now, it's pretty nice. We just have a manufacturer's controller, and these are pretty nice. These are small methods, but it's not challenge. It's not going to be difficult to see one particular controller with 200 or 300 lines of code, because I'm throwing all of that business logic inside of the controllers over here. So that was what they called fat controllers, skinny models. fat controllers because there was so much code inside the controllers and not a lot of code inside the model. So they said, let's flip that on its head. Like, we shouldn't have it inside of controllers. So they ended up having fat models and skinny controllers. And we were just kind of like jumping and moving the issue from one place to another. Instead of doing that, like the business logic still has to get done. So what we end up doing is we create another folder called services under app. This, again, MVC, model view controller, all this stuff still has to happen, and the business logic also has to happen. So we create a services folder with business logic going inside of there. Again, the code still has to be done. We're just moving it from one place to another.
Is it outside of controllers?
It is outside of controllers, but the controller will call it, but the code itself lives outside of the controller. All right, so I've cloned down this particular bit of code from the curriculum for today. All right, it's called catalog business. First things first, I'm gonna bundle install everything to make sure everything is good. And I'm just gonna run YOLO because that is the shortcut that I have. Drop, create, read, and update. Drop, create, migrate, and seed. All right, let's take a look at what we've got just to get started. Localhost 3000. All right, so we have welcome to the home page. It looks like we've got some device inside of here. So I'm going to register real quick. John at code.com. John, 123, and I'm logged in. At this particular point, let's take a look at all the resources that we have. So I'm going to jump inside of config, go inside of routes, and see all the routes that we've got. So it looks like we've got device for logging in and logging out. Whenever I'm going to the home page, it's taking me to the home page in that the index to be specific, so the welcome to the home page. So let's take a look at the home controller and specifically the index method. So there's the index method over here. I don't have to do any sort of code. I don't think we went over this. So if I had to figure out like all the code that's happening from front to back, I make a GET request to just localhost 3000. That's the root page because it doesn't have anything. It's not slash anything at the end. It's just slash. So whenever anybody makes a GET request to the home page, I'm going to take them to the home controller, specifically the index action. So the first half of the # is the controller. The second half is the method name. I jump over to the home controller, and I find the method over here. This just shows me that there is something that exists called method, but I don't need to do any sort of, I don't need to actually execute any code. I don't need to grab anything from the database or redirect or do anything. At this particular point, the home controller is going to look for a view called index. App, views, home, index. And that's where this welcome to the home page comes from. I'll just change it real quick just to confirm that I am on the right place. Welcome to the home page, 1, 2, 3. Save, close, and close. All right, so it looks like I've got all the routes for manufacturers and nested underneath that, all the routes for products. So if I were to split this real quick and just run bundle exec Rails routes, you can see all of these routes that I've got over here. So a lot of this is for users, but if you check down here, we have all the things related to manufacturers and their associated products. Now, when we take a look at the products controller, like I'm gonna actually, I want to just go to /manufacturers. I'm gonna create a manufacturer, and I'm gonna say that it's a Toyota. Did you know that Lexus cars are actually just Toyotas? I kid you not. I went to Tokyo when I was younger, and we visited the Toyota factory. And I saw a bunch of Lexus RX cars being made, but in the front they had the Toyota logo. I was like, wow, we're just suckers.
They've got a lot of weird like labeling out there on their cars.
Yeah. Also, Audis and Volkswagen is the same car. Yeah, there's a number of them. They just have the economy version and the more premium version. So I'm going to create this manufacturer. We're going to go back to, we're going to create a product over here. We're going to make this Toyota Corolla. I don't know, what is it, 16K roughly? And SKU is 1, 2, 3. So let's say I want to delete this. I'm going to go back, see products, and I want to, let's say I want to delete this particular Toyota product. Why is this broken? Let's troubleshoot this real quick. I am having some issues with this. Let's take a look at all the products. So a manufacturer has many products. So this would go under the products controller. All right. And so this is going to list out all of the products. So when I go to /manufacturer/1/products, this is everything that gets listed out over here. There's probably something very stupid that we're missing. So I'm grabbing all the products and I'm passing that into the index. So views, go to products, index. All right, if I have any products, I'm going to iterate over each one of them. Link to product and product.name. I believe that those are backwards. Product name and to product. Refresh this. Product path, sorry. Define method product path. Okay, let's take a look down over here. Yeah, we see this one all the time. So let's take a look. Products show, this is too small. I'm sorry, I'm going to open up iTerm. Right, specifically, I'm looking for a individual product. So it looks like /manufacturer/manufacturer's ID/product/ID. Okay, so it's not called product. It's actually called manufacturer product. All right, seems pretty simple. Manufacturer product path. And this particular product path needs a ID, which we are passing in. All right, I think this should work. Let's refresh this. There we go. Products by Toyota. Then we got this Corolla over here. If you take a look at the bottom left, manufacturers/1/product/1. When I click on this one, I have the ability to edit. And inside of here, I can also, should I be able to delete this? Why is it? There it is. It's right over here. Now let's take a look at that. Let's just say I want to delete a particular manufacturer. Or let's say I want to destroy a manufacturer's products. If you take a look down over here under destroy, I have a few things that are happening. Right now, when I destroy a particular product, I have to find the manufacturer, grab all their products, and from there, find the particular product that I'm talking about. So I have to pass in the ID. I destroy it, and then I create an event, and then redirect them. So I'm doing 3 things. The products controller, when you delete something, is generally just supposed to be doing one thing. Well, again, I'm finding the product, destroying it, so that's one action that I'm taking. Number 2, I'm creating an event, probably some sort of record that, hey, I actually deleted this from the database, otherwise you could delete anything at any time. And then I'm going to redirect them. So this is doing a little bit too much, and I want to create what's called a service object to basically take some of this away from the controller. So I'm going to create a new folder under app. Wrong place. App. Create a new folder. I'm going to call this services. Inside of services, I'm going to create a new file called destroy.product.rb. You'll notice the name for our particular class is pretty verby. And that's because whenever you see a service object, you should be able to read the class name and know what it does immediately. So when I take a look at, when I create a class called destroy product, what do you think it's going to do? Destroy the product. The code looks a little something like this. I've got class destroy product. It has an initialize and a call. That's about it. There's two publicly accessible methods. One of them is new, and the other one is call. And what you'll also notice is that destroy product doesn't inherit from anything. When we take a look at our products controller, we scroll all the way to the top, you can see that it inherits from application controller. If we chase it even further up, application controller inherits from action controller base. If we jump inside of our models, we go inside of event. Event inherits from application record inherits from active record base. So these are all inheriting from something, which means they get a whole bunch of extra stuff associated with it. Destroy product does not inherit from anything, and that's what's called a plain old Ruby object. It doesn't know anything about anybody else. It doesn't need to know anything about anybody else. It's just supposed to do its particular job. So we have two methods. One's called call, and the other one's initialize, or .new. The initializer should accept all the data that you need in order to get things to work. So let me split this real quick. All right, let's take a look over here on the right and jump down to delete. There are a few things that you need to know in order to destroy this product. What do you need? Like, what if I want to replace basically all of this code with, the idea is to say destroy product.new with some sort of method and then .call. And that should basically take care of all of this stuff over here. Because a service object can't redirect to, that's something that a controller can do. But I want to be able to do these two particular things.
So you need to find the actual product that you want to destroy?
Sure, yeah. I definitely need a, so what do I need? So I need to, yeah, so what do I need? I need to delete the product and create an event in the database for my administrator to know what happened. All right, so with that, if I want to do these two particular things, I need to initialize this particular class with everything that it needs.
Instance variable?
Yeah, I'm gonna take in some parameters. It's kind of like if I went over to like the dry cleaner and I said clean my clothes, I need to provide them with stuff, right? They know how to clean the clothes, but I need to provide them the clothes. So I'll get you guys started. So it looks like event, in order to create an event, you need the current user. So maybe I'll pass in current user. Probably I need to pass in, it looks like I need the ID of the thing that I'm destroying. So maybe I'll call this product ID. And it also looks like I also need the manufacturer that we're talking about. So maybe I'll pass in the entire manufacturer. Not terribly challenging. I just took everything from here. So it looks like I needed the manufacturer, I needed the parameter of the product ID, I needed the current user, and everything else should be fine. So since it's a class, I'm just going to do @current user equals current user. And then @product is going to be manufacturer. Products.find product ID. then I'll create a bunch of data readers. All right. When I do, so the idea is I'm going to do destroy product.new. I'm going to pass in everything that I need: the current user, the params ID for the product ID, and then the manufacturer. Basically going to find all of this stuff, cut it out, and then put it in here. So I've already found the product in the first line. First things first, I'm just going to destroy the product, and I'm going to create an event. I have current user already. Event type is deleted product. Details is going. This is going to change from params ID to product ID. Manufacturer ID is going to be, I believe, manufacturer.id. If this looks pretty simple, like I'm just copying and pasting code from one place to another, that's because it is. I'm literally just copying and pasting the code from one place to another. Instead of having everything inside of one giant products controller action, whenever the destroy fires off, I'm actually going to be saying, hey, don't execute everything inside of here. I'm going to defer it over to this particular class called .new and then .call on it. And it's doing the exact same thing. And I believe everything should still work exactly as we expect it to. Let's create a product and then we'll destroy that product. So we're going to show this particular one, see the products associated with them, and I should have a delete button, but I don't have a delete button. Let's put it inside of this over here. So I'm looking for manufacturers /1/product/1/edit. So if I take a look over here, manufacturers /the ID /product/1/edit. It's right over here. /manufacturers, the manufacturer's ID, products, the ID, and then the edit. So this takes me to the products controller, specifically the edit action. Products controller, edit action, find it, okay, and then render out this particular thing, this edit right over here. So I'm going to go to App, Views, Products, and then Edit. I also want a link to delete this as well. So maybe I'll do a link to. Does anybody know how to create the delete button off the top of their head? I forgot.
Yes, link to.
Yep.
Just do delete.
Delete.
And then you want to do, after the comma, you want to do method and colon. And then method is delete. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
And then, yep.
And then the path, right?
Yes.
How do I, what is the path for deleting? Manufacturer product. Okay. Right over here. Let's see if this shows up at this point. Something blew up. Am I missing a closing parenthesis somewhere? I don't think so. Let's take a look what it says. Okay, on line 7, there's an unexpected closing parentheses. It must be mistaken somewhere. Does anybody see anything wrong with it?
Could you go to the code and just highlight different parentheses and see what they're doing?
Sure, let's do that. Let me change this back to.
there a
That
pipe
second,
on
that
line
white,
five?
yeah, that white one by back. That,
Those-
oh yeah.
What's the pipe on line five?
That's just like a. That it's
Oh,
literally
that's
just
part-
a
okay.
pipe that shows up. I actually don't think it's like this. I think it's delete. Let's see if that runs. It does not. We'll just type it over again. Link to delete. Manufacturer product path. We need to pass in. Actually, I think we can just do this. Let's see if this runs. Okay. Probably some small syntactical thing. So now, if I want to edit this product, I would just want to delete it. Let's just see if I can delete this product. All right. So there's an uninitialized constant products controller destroy product. I think we have to restart the server. I'm missing. How do I? Right, there's an undefined local variable or method product ID. Do you mean app product? I did. Not find product ID one because I already deleted it. Okay, let's go back over here, create a new product. Add a product. We'll do Toyota. The name is going to be Camry. It's about 20 grand. SKU is 1, 2, 3. I want to edit it and I want to delete this. And it was still successfully deleted. So as you can see, when I click that button to actually delete the thing that was showing up on the page, this particular thing fired off. This method calls out to destroy product. Destroy product takes in all of the things that it needs, finds that particular product in the database, destroys it, and creates an event. If all goes well, I should be able to take a look inside of my database for an event that happened. An event is just a model that connects directly into the database. All right, event.count. There was 7 events that happened. Event.last. It looks like user number 1 deleted a product specifically with these particular details. The ID was number 2, and the manufacturer was equal to 1. And that just happened at 7:43, and we are 5 hours behind UTC time, which is Greenwich time. So we're -5, so that is just happened 1 minute ago. So everything does look like it's functioning well. If we run our tests that are inside of here, everything should still pass. So there's a lot of tests, and this is a good place if you wanted to grab, copy, and paste some tests over. This is a good place to do it. Now, the curriculum as it's written right now has a whole bunch of things revolving around testing, which is, I'm going to leave it up to you as a choice. Do you want me to continue down with the curriculum path, or would you like me to review anything else? Service objects, in summary, are basically the idea that you shouldn't have one thing do everything. Like, you shouldn't have one monolithic application. So people use what's called microservices to separate their one gigantic app into 5 smaller apps. Similarly, when we're dealing with controllers and we have to do more than one thing, like the time that you visit Amazon.com, you order 5 books and you press place order, there's a bunch of things that are happening in the background, including, creating an audit trail, charging your credit card, send you a confirmation email, reaching out to this particular warehouse, sending a message to this one guy to go get your books and put it inside of a box and then put it on a truck. And then from there, even when you put it on the truck, you have to keep track of the truck the whole time so that you know exactly where everything is. Like, there's so much complexity involved with just one particular order. And instead of having all of that live in one particular controller action, I split it out into specific, smaller service objects. So instead of the destroy doing 3 things, it just calls one particular class. That class takes in all of these things that it needs to know: the current use of the product ID and the manufacturer, the concept of I'm going to go to the dry cleaner, give them my clothes and say, wash these clothes, and they have everything that they need at that particular point. They're going to destroy it, create an event, and then we're good to go. Do you want me to continue down the curriculum path, or would you prefer for me to show you email, perhaps, or do nested CRUD? It's up to you.
Email would be perfect, and the curriculum path would be just like doing the testing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Okay.
Also nested.
Also nested. Okay.